Hello, everyone. A pleasant good evening to you, no matter where you are. We have a unique program tonight, one that we have never done before. I think you will get a big kick out of it. It's going to be presented by Mr. Chris Bungo. Chris grew up in New Jersey. During college, he worked as a radio DJ, and for a few years after graduating college as well. He co-founded a software company with a friend from college who also worked in radio. Their company created and sold software for radio stations from 1992 until 2024, when they sold the company. In 2012, he had the idea to create then and now videos at the movie locations where they were filmed. He began shooting exact matching photos and video of those locations as they look today. As you might imagine, this required some amazing research, location scouting, and detective work. He developed clever editing techniques to illustrate and identify the spots where scenes were shot. Now he devotes full-time attention to his website and YouTube channel, and he continues to film at newly discovered locations. Now he has almost 150 videos and close to 2,000 photos on his website. Please welcome Chris Bungo, who has come to visit with us all the way from Florida.
You've got a beautiful spring here. Everything is blooming. We don't get spring in Florida. It's pretty much just summer and then not so summer. If any of you have been to Florida, you know. Just for my curiosity, how many people here, raise your hand, live or work in Culver City? Pretty good. Okay. What about Venice? We've got a couple Venice. Okay. What about Palms? Well, I see a couple Palms over there. Very good. Okay, this first video is primarily Culver City and Venice. And in the middle of the video, we're going to get a little brief history lesson of the Venice Pier.
Look, Farina, there's the gang. They gotta go to school. I'm glad I don't have to go to school no more. Ain't you, Joe? Yeah, I'd rather go fishing. Going to school, huh? Yeah. Why don't you play fish hooky and come fishing with us? Yeah, boy. They're sure biting.
Get thee behind me, Satan. Don't push. I'd like to play hooky, but I'm afraid.
We'll write you some excuses. We used to pull that on Miss Crabtree. She never knowed.
What do you think, Stormy? Well, if I had pneumonia, it might be all right.
I can't spell that. I'll give you a bad cold.
All right, we'll do, won't we, fellas? Yeah. Go on, right the note. Make mine a nervous breakdown, and you better put in a broken arm to make it fancy. Joe, make mine fit. Because fits are always good. My pappy has fits. The DT. What do you mean that DT? You know. Delicious cream. Here's some the boys where they're fishing. Okie dokie.
What are you gonna do?
Well, the boys will come here, and you take them to the beach. But don't let them know who you are till you get them down there. And we'll fix them. I caught one.
I told you it's good fishing.
I say. Hey, Big!
What did you say?
Get him out! Holy smoke! There ain't no school today and she's taking everybody to the beach. Come on!
Wait here. I've got to go get a man to fix this.
Hey, that's grown-ups! Come on! All right, now run along and play and we'll fix you a nice lunch. Come on, Dorothy. Teacher, Quiet, pretend you don't know them. I love it, How did you know my name? We're going to school with you. What's your name? Dickie Moore? Well, I don't know Dickie anymore. I mean, I don't know any Dickie Moore. I don't know any of you boys, but if you're playing hooky, you better look out. Here comes the truant officer.
Say, there's 4 kids playing hooky around here, and when I catch them, I'm gonna send them to reform school.
Look! They're all going in the fun house! We ain't having no fun at all!
I'm gonna lock them up in the reform school.
Please don't let him lock us up, Miss Carmen. Will you boys promise never to play hooky again? Yes, sir.
All right this time, but don't ever let it happen again, see?
For me, the 2 moments in that film that really grabbed me is when Spanky is coming to the gang. They're fishing on the side of Bayona Creek, and we just see what happened, basically, which I think happened. They constructed the cement storm channel just a few years after this movie was made. So we're kind of lucky that Robert McGowan, the director, and Art Lloyd, the photographer of this, made this film and decided to do it on location because it's a time capsule, really. And I think this is the closest that we get to time travel, at least in the 21st century. The other part of this video that really grabs me is when the truant officer is chasing Stymie down the pier by the breakwater, and then all that's left is the breakwater, which you can actually go and walk out there on low tide. I encourage you all to try that if you like. But yeah, this was a great film. It was made in a very innocent time in the nation's history, in the history of Culver City and the area. We're going to pivot now. We're going to move into the 60s now. Culver City was still bustling, great place to raise a family, safe. Kids could walk around on their own, or could they? That's what this one is about. This one is called The Strange Ones, and it's one of those films, I don't know what it was like out here where you grew up, but in New Jersey, where I grew up, every once in a while we'd come into the classroom and we'd see the 16 millimeter movie projector there, and we'd be like, yes, we don't have to listen to the teacher today, we're gonna see a movie. And usually they were safety films, which were very corny, even to third graders like us. We were just like, come on, what is this? This is ridiculous. This one is made by a guy named Sid Davis. He made a lot of safety films, and he primarily filmed right here on the streets of Culver City. In fact, I think Sid, with all of the films that he's made, probably has filmed on every street and every street corner in Culver City. So this is another example of a time capsule of Culver City in the early 1960s. Unfortunately, the star that we're going to see here, Karen, we had hoped that she would be able to come here today and tell us what it was like working for Sid Davis. But she lives 3 hours away and just wasn't up for the trip. But hopefully, we can set up a Zoom and I'll interview her. And then when Mark cuts this all together and posts it online, you can see the actual interview that we do with Karen on this particular film. One other note about this film, what we just saw was a very professionally produced film. Sid Davis, I think the budget was maybe $10. I don't know if I know Sid was the producer. I imagine he was also the writer, the director, and perhaps the cameraman as well. And you'll notice in the opening scene, he's just shooting. It's very overexposed, and he has a little thank you to the Culver City Police Department on there. It's all washed out. You can't see it. So get ready for something that's kind of schlocky. For those, I don't know, was this only a New Jersey thing, or did you guys, when you were in school, you were subjected to these things too? Okay, yes? All right.
As a matter of fact, this video was shown, I went to Farragut Elementary School, and this video was shown at Farragut Elementary School when I was a kid. As a safety. Wow.
There you go. Yeah, you're going to see Karen gets into a scrape here. We don't know if Karen's going to make it or not, but Karen went on to live a very happy life. She's well, and apparently the experience of making this film did not permanently scar her. All right, let's see if I can get this thing running.
Karen. She is 8 years old, and she is on her way home from school. Every day she passes this store with a wonderful candy counter, and every once in a while her mother gives her a dime for a treat. And Karen always stops at the store, even if it's only to window shop. Of course, Karen's parents have told her never to take money or candy from a stranger, or let him touch her. But right now it looks as though she has forgotten these basic rules. But Karen's friend, the salesgirl, hasn't forgotten. and wonders who the stranger is that is buying candy for her, and why. Karen, having already forgotten one of her parents' warnings, finds it easy to forget another. Never to go anywhere with a stranger, or accept rides with people you don't know, no matter what they tell you. This time, Karen is lucky. Her friend does what you should do in a situation like this. She takes down the license number of the car and the description of the stranger and calls the police. Her information is sent out by police radio. To officers all over town. So that they can be on the lookout for the car with Karen and the stranger.
Now listen, if you don't be careful, I'm gonna break your neck.
At home, Karen's mother is beginning to get worried. She is waiting and waiting. But no Karen. She knows just how long it takes Karen to get home from school, but she is already half an hour late. So because Karen's friend remembered to take down the car's license number, everything turned out all right. And Karen, of course, knew her telephone number so that the policeman could call her mother right away to come and get her. My name is Mrs. Perkins, and I am a policewoman. We had a while to wait for Karen's mother to come and get her, so this was a good chance for me to tell Karen of some of the dangers children her age must be on the lookout for. Most people in the world are good and nice, but unfortunately, there are some strange ones. And these strange ones are sick. Not sick with a cold or measles or anything like that, but sick in the mind. We call them mentally ill. Now, many boys and girls enjoy playing in areas like this. They explore interesting places and make up games to play by themselves. But you never know when there might be a strange one around. Sometimes we become so involved in what we are doing that we can't see the danger. And even if this little boy had seen the man, how could he know that he was a strange one? There's no way to tell. The strange ones look just like everyone else. It is wise to avoid playing in deserted areas like this, especially when you are alone. I explained to Karen that you should not play in any area where there are no other people around, and you must also be on your guard even when you are downtown. Like little girl was running an errand for her mother. When the stranger stops her and asks directions, she politely and courteously gives him the information. But when he asks her to go with him, of course she says no, politely excuses herself and goes on her way. Never go with strangers when they ask for directions. And if there is any trouble, just call out for help. And if you see any of your friends about to make a mistake, you can help. It's always a good idea when you go to the park, or the movies, or even to the store, to take along friend. And when you are at the park, play in the areas that are set aside as playgrounds. Do not hang around the restrooms. And if you see any of your playmates about to get into trouble, get help from a police officer or someone you know. just as these children did. They ran and found the little girl's mother. You not only have to look out for yourself, but for the little children who don't know any better and can't understand that some people are sick in the mind. There are so many ways you can get into trouble with the strange ones, and one of the quickest is by hitchhiking. It is a wise young man who knows not to hitch rides with strangers. There are so many things that could happen other than you're getting a quick ride home. The man may be drunk and get into an accident, or he may be just a bad driver. Or a strange one with no intention of taking you home. If you ever see any of your friends hitchhiking and cannot stop them, get the license number of the car. And remember, not to take shortcuts, especially through alleys. Or empty side streets. You never know when a strange one might approach you, and it may never happen, but it is far better to be on the safe side. Be on your guard and know what to look out for. Like this little girl in the movie theater. She remembers what her parents told her. Never let a stranger touch you or put his hands on you. She told the usher in the theater, and this man won't bother anyone again. I think Karen can see now how foolish she was. And if it hadn't been for a friend, remembering the right thing to do, how much trouble she might have been in. Karen will remember never to accept gifts or rides from strangers, and now she knows to stay clear of deserted places. Well, Karen's adventure has made her a wiser little girl, and I hope you have become wiser too.
Okay, so you've just watched The Strange Ones, and if you've made it this far, I have a special guest now. The star of These Strange Ones, Karen. Apparently, Karen heeded the advice given in the film, did not take any more rides from strangers, and has gone on to live a very happy life in these
Yes.
decades since the film. Thanks for joining us, Karen.
Thank you, Chris.
So, first question, how did you find out about this project, that they were making this film?
Very simply, my father just came home on a Saturday and I was still sleeping and he came in and woke me up, and he was kind of a silly man too, well, the side I knew. He was a cop, so he wasn't all silly. And he just said, "How would you like to be in a movie?" And I said, "Sure, I'll be in a movie," because I was into the arts and creative. Culver City kind of encompassed arts and creativity in the school system. It was a wonderful school system. And so yeah, he said, how would you like to be in a movie? And I said, "Sure, yeah, no problem." I had no idea what my role would be or what even the movie was about. And I don't know that he would have even explained it to me because of the subject matter. I mean, really, honestly, as I was filming, I don't think I knew what it was about. I was 8.
Yeah, yeah. So you
In the film, I'm 9, but I was 8.
So you didn't have to audition for this then?
Correct.
Wow, that's amazing.
Correct.
So you're picked for this film. Had you ever done any acting before?
Only in school.
Mhm.
Only in school. And
Okay.
I mean, you watch the film, there's one scene in this film where the director stopped me and said, "Please don't smile. I am in the car with the bad guy." And he's scary, by the way, to me in real life. I was staying to the side of the car as much as possible because he looked scary to me. And still, I didn't really know I knew he was kidnapping me in the film, but that's kind of all I knew. And he really was scary to me. But growing up in Hollywood, you go, "Oh, I'm with the bad guy and the good guys are coming." And they show the police officers chasing us. And he films me close up. And I am in my mind going, "The good guys are coming. Yay." And I have that look on my face. And he's
Yeah.
like, "You're scared. Don't smile." Now, even at 8, I was a little bit strong-willed. And you can still see me a little bit smiling in that scene. I should not have been smiling. If I'd really understood how terrifying it really was in real life, I would have shown terror. But
Yeah.
anyway, so I had direction, and he was a professional actor, the guy that was in the car, and I don't know what his name was. I think they didn't want me to know him. They didn't want me to get too friendly with him, probably.
Yeah, right. Well, that was one of my other questions. So they did hire some professional actors, but many of the other people that we see in the film are real Culver City police, right?
Correct. Any police
Wow.
officer you saw was, and I can still remember the names of some of them, but yeah, the police, the juvenile detective in the film, a woman,
Yeah.
takes me into the police station. I don't know if you have that in your film or if it shows that, but I'm taken into the police station once they get me back. And her name was Barbara Perkins. And she was a family friend. So she was like a mother to me. So when she's talking to me, I'm very comfortable with her. And we are actually in the juvenile detectives area in the police department when she's talking to me.
Wow. So that's probably one of the very few times that we've seen the inside of the Culver City Police Department. We see the outside in a lot of different films and TV shows, but
Right.
yeah, that's interesting.
Well, during the Little Rascals and Laurel and Hardy, the police station was actually on the corner of Duquesne and Washington. And it was a beautiful old building. I'm not sure when it was built. You probably know that maybe. But they tore that down, and now there's just a facade that kind of represent that building. That was the city hall and the police department. So back then, that was really a fun thing to tour. Then they made this ultra modern. That was the state-of-the-art police department. So yes, that was the inside of the police station.
Yeah, that was built in 1928 and stood,
That building.
I think until 1996. And yeah, like you said, then they
Oh,
saved
no, not, you mean, well, that building stood until 96, yes.
Yeah.
But the police station, the new police station, was built probably in 66 or 7.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, or 4. I mean, somewhere in the early 60s, the new police station was built. And that
Yeah.
was absolutely modern and state of the art. It was
Mhm.
really cool in there. And it still is, actually. So.
Yeah. So when did they do the filming? Was it after school or on the weekends?
It was during school, because you see me coming in one scene, you see me coming out of Farragut Elementary School, and there are kids coming out of school at that moment in time, and they're filming me from afar, walking out of the school. So it was during school. Yeah.
Wow, lucky you.
That was one scene, and then the other scene that was they're introducing me, they're introducing the topic, and I'm in front of Grant's department store, which is now I'm not sure what it is now, actually. But it was a beautiful old, you can still smell Grant's department store. You know, the hot dogs, because they made food inside of this department store, and it was kind of like a, I don't know, a Woolworths or a Walmart today is kind of what it was. It had everything in it, including food and candy. And so one of the scenes, I'm rubbing my nose up, and that's when he sees me, I think, is when I'm looking at candy.
Yeah.
And so I can still smell the smell of the inside of that department store. and hear the creaking wood. They were wood stairs that took you down into the basement where the pet store was and everything was. And it was all creaky and old, and yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. What was the crew like? Was it, I get the sense that it was pretty much just a director and someone working the camera.
Pretty much. And then they had the light screens that would reflect light and give you more light on your, on the scene that they were shooting. And that was about as movie technical as it got.
Yeah.
There was a cameraman and a director. Yeah.
Was the director Sid Davis or was it someone else?
I don't think so, but don't quote me on that. I do not know. I just know it was a Sid Davis production. It might have been. It might have been. I don't remember. In fact, I can't even, I can picture the bad guy, but I can't picture the cameraman.
Yeah.
He didn't impact. I didn't think he wasn't threatening.
Yeah. What was during the shooting, you mentioned that, oh, you were starting to smile in one of the scenes. Were most of the shots done in one take, or did they have you do it over and over and over again?
Like that take, they did like maybe 2 or 3 times. Most of them, trying to think, most of them were one take, maybe 2. There is another scene that is my mother, and she's looking at the clock. And her name, do you want me to say names?
Sure.
People. And I think I haven't talked to her for maybe 10 or 15 years, but her name was Patricia Clapp. And she was actually the lady that I would walk over to her house after school. So I was also very comfortable with her, and she played my mother. And there might have been two takes or 3 takes with her.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So you get through the filming. I guess it was pretty quick, maybe 2-3 days worth, if that.
Yeah, and yes, and I wore the same clothes because it was one day, it was a couple of hours, but so I would wear the same clothes. Yeah, which was interesting to me as a kid. I'm like, oh, I got to wear that again. Okay.
Yeah.
Look and do my hair the same way and whatever. Mm-hmm.
So that was your part, and then there are some other segments of the film with other kids Were those your friends as well?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
really?
because we were all kids of cops. Every kid in the movie was a kid of a cop. So yes, in fact, I did contact one of the ladies, the probably the prettiest little girl in the whole film. Her name is Lisa, and she and her father was a police officer, and I did contact her, and she lives too far away, and she's up in Northern Cal. So, if she had been able to come down, I would not have missed, at the time of anything. But yeah.
hmm Uh, I know the answer to this already, but I'm going to ask it. So most productions, the best part is the craft services, which is the big table with all the snacks and the food. Were there any craft services? I
No,
thought not.
no. But Vets Auditorium is just iconic for anyone that grew up in Culver City. I mean,
Yeah.
that is where, you took baton lessons in the, you for senior night, in the gym, you played volleyball there, indoor volleyball. It Culver City was really, the Wonder Years were filmed in Culver
Mhm.
City.
Yeah.
And it was right around the time of my growing up that the Wonder Years takes place. And it really was the Wonder Years. It really
Mhm.
was a wonderful place. And the community was so close, and the amenities within the city were just so family oriented. On Christmas, it didn't matter what your background was. At Vets Park Auditorium, at that auditorium, they would hand out presents, gifts to the kids at Christmas time. Your parents would take you and they'd think, what do you want? Pick out a gift. Uh, so
Wow.
yeah, so there a lot of wonderful things happened at Vets Auditorium, and
hmm
still does
Yeah.
today. Yeah.
Yeah. So after you finished your work in the film, I imagine they probably did a big premiere at the school, yes? Did they
Yes.
show it? Yeah.
Yes, they showed it at the school. They showed it at all the schools, and to my knowledge, throughout Culver City, or the district. There were at that time there were 9 elementary schools, and so they showed it at all 9 elementary schools. They also showed it first at the police department. So in their meeting room, all the families that were involved in the filming got together, and all the kids and everybody, and we watched it at the police department.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
And afterwards, after it had been shown in the schools, did you become a minor celebrity at school?
Yes.
Ah!
I mean, I almost, yes, my nickname was movie star for a while.
Ah! I think if you had pursued that, you probably would have made some inroads.
I actually like all the arts and all the creativity about, and dancing and singing. And I did some in my elementary school and playing instruments. I played percussion. And I didn't really realize how much I loved it. And now my niece and my sister-in-law have been really involved. I don't know if you're familiar with Big Bear, but I'm 5th generation up in Big Bear. And so they, community theater up there is really, and it's just lovely. I mean, it's just so much fun to do all that. But yeah, I would have, I would have said, hey, Hope, get me a part, get me into a petition. If I had known, I just didn't realize how much, looking back, I really could have and would have done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hope Parrish was involved in quite a few films, and her
Oh, yeah.
father too, as property masters. Yeah.
Yes. Big time.
Um,
I remember in elementary school, they would go do a film out of country. They would go
mhm.
work on a big film out of country, and the kids, Hope's dad would take the kids with him, and they go, oh, they're back now, and whatever. But yeah.
Wow.
So she definitely, I have family that worked on films, you know, I have in the industry on Hope's side of things, on prop production. And, you know, like my grandfather was a welder for MGM and worked on big movies in MGM. And my stepmother worked in the film industry for many years. Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine anybody who was living in Culver City, maybe pre-90s, has some relative that had a connection to MGM or
Right.
RKO or Hal Roach.
Right.
The
Right. It
three
was the
big
bedroom
studios.
community for, you know, the actors lived in Beverly Hills. And we and all of the people that worked on production, a lot of us lived in Culver City.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And-
Definitely.
We've covered, I think, pretty much everything that I wanted to cover about this film. Anything that I left out that maybe you want to bring up?
Whoa. No, just that, you know, when I was 35, when I turned 35, my father gave me a present and I opened it up and it was a VHS format of the film. And I hadn't seen it since I was little.
Wow.
And I did not know how connected I was to it until I opened that gift. And it made me cry, you know, because it is a real, it's a memento of your childhood and of Culver City. And while Culver City has been gentrified and it's really lovely and it's pretty and, you know, you just go, wow, Culver City looks, you know, like a film city, you know, I mean, like a place where films were made. Well, back then it was much more small town, hometown.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you've captured both of them together. It's wonderful that you've done that.
Well, Karen, thanks so much for joining us. And now that we've got this recording, you'll be immortalized on the internet forever and ever and ever, all over the world.
Oh, great. That's great.
Thanks again.
Thank you. So I'll get an agent.
Can I add something?
Go ahead.
Can I add something? My father was was the guy in the movie theater. He was Lester the Molester.
Really?
It was at the Culver Theater.
And he was in it too.
And I was in it, but my younger
You were in
brother.
it too?
Yeah.
Just
Here.
No way, come here.
What was it like working? How were you chosen?
Well, since my father was a police officer, Pete Shabato, a lot of you might know, some of you might know. Oh no. And anyway, so we participated, but my brother David was the one skipping along, but he couldn't skip, so that's why he's doing it. He goes. But a funny story about the movie theater is that, so my father was the molester, but my sister Karen is sitting on the side of him. And if you see in that second scene, her head is right against him because that was her dad. She didn't know he was a molester. So she's just leaning against her dad, and Sid Davis didn't notice that.
Yeah.
So we were at the police station, and they had a screening in the basement and showed that, and everybody goes, "Why is that little girl leaning against the molester?" So they sort of cut it, really quick.
Wow.
But anyway.
Wow.
But anyway.
Thank
fun
you.
little-
That's great.
I'll tell you one thing about Sid Davis. I did have the privilege of shooting with him for a film, and I forget what the film was. But an interesting thing about Sid Davis was every weekend he would go out to Palm Springs, and his favorite activity in life, other than shooting movies, was going up Mount San Jacinto on the tram and then climbing the peak. And in order to get a job with him, he suggested, come on out with me and we'll go climb Mount San Jacinto. So I had to go out with him, and it was winter, so we rode the tram up and we snowshoed to the top of the peak. But he has the record still, because no one else would want to do it, I think. He had climbed Mount San Jacinto 118 times. That's what a dedicated filmmaker he was.
That's amazing. Wow. So we go from the 60s, when Culver City was still pretty nice, to the 70s and the 80s, where Culver City was used quite a bit for cop shows, probably due to the rundown nature. The Adams Hotel was a favorite location, I guess because of its seediness at that time. If you go back and look, I literally must have 500 or 600 pictures of Culver City just in the 1920s up on my website. The Adams Hotel was sparkling clean. It was beautiful until the Culver came along, and then that, of course, was the big draw downtown. But yeah, so expect some seediness here. We're going to see Charlie's Angels. I think I added Starsky and Hutch to this one. What else? Hunter from the 80s is in this, and I think I'm forgetting one of the cop shows. But we also do a Twilight Zone episode in here too. So here we go.
Once upon a time, there were 3 little girls who went to the police academy.
If I could see the sum of all in me, the total of the week, what would the total be? If I could see it. Entirety, the absolute of me, would I be what I see?
Where have you been?
Oh, I was, doing my thing, you know.
You got some bread for me?
Well, I haven't scored yet.
Come on, Rose. You've been out here a couple of hours. You know you're coming up empty on me?
Yeah, but I just got...
Rose, get in the car. We've got to have another talk.
No, I really can't. I gotta go, Fred.
Baby, how many times do I got to lean on you until you get it straight?
Freddie, please! I don't think she wants to go with you. Ow!
Baby, just butt out of it.
You touch her again, I'll get a cop.
Baby, you ought to get out of here before I take you somewhere and teach you some manners.
Why don't we have a little talk first? You have this nasty... habit of pushing ladies around. As a matter of fact, there was another lady 2 days ago. Maybe you know something about that?
Hey, look, lady, it's all right. I'm okay. I got no complaints. So you just stay out of it, okay?
Want me to put her in the car?
Put on the gun. I'm not going to say it again. Now get back in the car. Since the lady here's not going to press charges, I guess you get a free pass this time. So why don't you just crawl away? I don't know who you are, but you've had it.
Attention all units, be on the lookout for an all-white 1965 bus with lettering on the rear reading First Baptist Church. Vehicle is a stolen out of Wilshire Division.
Hey, that's the one down the street from Central. Who'd want to steal that old wreck?
You got me the last time I saw it. The wheels were ready to fall off.
I bet old Rev Ghostie's so mad he's talking to the devil.
Hey, Punch.
That's it, the stolen bus. I don't believe it.
Yeah, the whole half a block from Central, not exactly a hot roller.
This is amazing. We never found a stone.
We? What do you have, a mouse in your pocket?
Partner, good friend, old buddy. This is what I needed. That slump in my activity, I'm saved.
Punch, look, technically I have...
I'll write all reports today.
Tomorrow?
The rest of the week.
Sure.
I think I'll call for backup. Spice things up a little for Gautreaux. Put out a code 20. Maybe get a news team out here.
Hey, Punch, how about just calling it in, okay?
Okay, thanks.
How you doing, Fireball?
Oh, hiya, fellas. I haven't seen you around in quite a while.
Well, that's true, but we've been reading about you in the paper, and you're doing just fine.
I'll get called. What you got? We got 3 balls and 2 strikes, and maybe the whole ball game.
Yep.
Fireball here thinks he saw the catch you're looking for.
You seen this guy, Fireball?
Yeah.
Where?
Listen, fellas, I ain't got no time to be talking because I got mantle on. And I'm facing Maris with the long count.
Well, look, Fireball, I'm going to keep a close eye on Mantle. He's on second. He's not moving a muscle.
Look, you need some eyeglasses.
Why's that?
Because he's already stole third.
Mantle?
Yeah.
He ain't never been that fast. Look, I want to keep an eye on Mantle on third. Just tell us when you saw this guy, all right?
I saw him this morning.
Where?
Coming out the hotel down
Game,
there.
Fireball.
Sorry, Nick.
That was a ball!
Strike. It was a ball. You're blind, up.
Your next stop, the Twilight Zone. Portrait of a nervous man, Oliver Pope by name. Office manager by profession. A man beset by life's problems. His job, his salary, the competition to get ahead. Obviously, Mr. Pope's mind is not on his driving.
That didn't go honking their heads off in the middle of the night.
I'm going to get rid of it.
Well, I'm going down and have it looked at.
do you do most of your location scouting using Google Maps, and or do you ever try to go on site to all these locations?
So this is the question of how do you find these locations? And it's been an evolving process through the years. There were people before me that did a lot of legwork. One guy is named Bob Satterfield. This was back in the 70s, I think, before any sort of internet or online mapping. And he and Chris Wiley, Richard? Yeah.
Chris and Jimmy Wiley.
Chris and Jimmy Wiley, who they're all involved in the Laurel and Hardy group, Sons of the Desert. And they would have to just drive up and down streets just with a little picture trying to figure out, is this the house? Is that the house? So their work was really the foundation. Richard Bann, who is here, he discovered the famous staircase on the Laurel and Hardy film where they're taking the piano up the stairs, and then the piano, the music box steps, and the piano, of course, goes down the steps, and they have to bring it up again. So there were a lot of people before me, but I was able to build on that because, thankfully, many of the Hal Roach films, Little Rascals, Laurel and Hardy, Charlie Chase, we saw Taxi Boys in here, they liked the film close to the studio. The studio was located roughly where Platform is today, if you know where that is, National Landmark Street off of Washington. So it was pretty easy to, oh, I've seen that building in that movie, and in the background was this other building that I'm now looking for in this movie. So it all kind of starts to fit together. With a lot of the Little Rascals, Our Gang movies, they loved to film over in Palms on Motor Avenue, pretty much between Tabor and National, and a block on either side, Vinton and Mentone. And again, it's kind of a jigsaw puzzle. You find, oh, okay, this building looks familiar in this film. Okay, I can see this address, 3343 Motor. Oh, well, look, in this Little Rascal film, 3343 Motor is in the background on the left. Aha! I can then surmise that, okay, that's 3392. The internet makes it a lot easier, though. We do have Google Maps at our disposal. I've got Culver City phone directories from 1927 and 31 also at my disposal. It's online, it's free. You just have to find it on Google. But you could see what stores were on Main Street. And a lot of them changed from 1927 to 31. I guess when the Depression hit in 29, that a lot of them went out of business, unfortunately. But it's kind of been an evolutionary process here. There's other people who, in our old movie community, John Benson is one. He's written 3 books, one on filming locations just for Chaplin films, one for Harold Lloyd films, and one for Busting Keaton films. So I've used him where if I'm not sure of something, I'd say, hey, John, what do you think of this? Does this look like something that seems reasonable to assume that this is the place? And of course, there's now photo archives online too, which helps a lot.
Cool, thank you.
Okay.
I was just wondering, where in New Jersey are you from?
Oh, a town right outside of Morristown, New Jersey, called Cedar Knolls. Very small town. It's in northern New Jersey, about 30 miles west of New York City. And fortunately, we were able to get the New York City TV stations, which would play the Little Rascals and Laurel and Hardy. So as a kid growing up, I always wondered, where is this Little Rascals neighborhood where they're having all this fun? And it wasn't until 30, 40 years later that I met Richard here, and it all started to fall into place that, hey, it's Palms in Culver City. So that's, yeah.
Have you ever lived in this area for much time?
to be so familiar with the streets and buildings?
Lived in Santa Monica when I was 6 years old for 4 months. My dad was on assignment, and we stayed at the Kensington Motel Efficiency Apartments, which is now, or was the site of the Lowe's Hotel over there in Santa Monica. I don't know what it is now. It looks, I drove by there the other day. It looks all closed up.
It's Regent.
Oh, it's Regent now? Yeah. Yeah, and those were the days, those were the 60s. I remember I could just wander around on my own. I remember going to the beach on my own. Sometimes I'd have to take my 4-year-old sister with me, but there was no problems at all back then. Got one, no strange ones. Got one over here.
Over here.
I have a question. When the Adam Hotel was demolished, I see it's called Adam, right?
Adams Hotel.
Adams
Yes.
Hotel. When it was demolished, and
I can't give a specific date. Hope, are you in the room? Yeah, I've got stuff from Hunter, the TV series, going into 88, 89. It was still there, but you could see that they were already demolishing the block a bit further up Washington. So I'm going to guess late 80s, very late 80s, early 90s. Yeah, it's too bad it's not there. That whole block was photographed in dozens and dozens of film that where Culver Steps is now. I have stuff going back to 1922 showing that block. I have stuff on my website of the Culver Hotel under construction as well. They manage, again, these filmmakers, they were just using locations because it was cheap. It was there. I'm sure they didn't have to do permits, but they were really creating a time capsule. I mean, imagine seeing the Culver Hotel under construction.
Yeah, it's right here.
Amazing. One more? Okay. Yep.
Chris, hi. My name is John Henry. I've messaged you back and forth a few times on your Facebook, I think, when you were a little more active on Facebook before you went over to your YouTube channel.
Yep, and website. Yep.
So anyways, myself, my sister Bobby, Donnie, who just left, and Maureen, we all grew up on Huron between Culver and Washington Boulevard. And, in the 60s and 70s, they filmed an episode of Chips on our street. And I have still photos from, like screenshots from the episode where my truck was sitting right in front of my house in the center frame on one of the chase scenes for like 15 seconds.
Oh, did you mention this to me?
I may have.
I think, yeah.
So I don't know if you accept, like, if we have those screenshots and the now photos. I don't know how well they're aligned, but if we could send those to you, if you could use them in any way, or if you'd be interested in seeing any of that.
Yeah, definitely. The email address is Chris at chrisbungostudios.com.
Okay, that's easy to remember.
Just send it. Take a picture with your phone of the screen.
Gotcha.
In fact, everybody take a picture of the screen with your phone so you can visit. And even if it doesn't match precisely, at least you'll be telling me where that location is. So that saves me a lot of time in trying to figure it out, so that when I come out here again to photograph a whole new batch of stuff, then
right, they
that's
actually
good.
commandeered a house a couple down from us and across the street where they busted through their gate to start the chase scene, and then they headed east on Huron. But anyways, I drove out here today from Phoenix just for this presentation.
Whoa!
Thank you for doing this.
Thank you. And I thought you all came to review the treasurer's report. We just lost a Laurel and Hardy landmark in Culver City here. Anyone remember when they were selling Christmas trees? And they go to two houses. The second one is the one that they destroy. But the first house, where I think he gets hit on the head with a hammer and someone says no peddlers or something like that, that's on the corner of Caroline and Jacob. And that house has been demolished and they're building a new house. I was there the other day and I was thinking, why of all the homes on this street was it that one? There you go. Question over. Okay. We'll get to you in a sec.
I watch Little Rascals every night, and I was just wondering. There's one episode, I don't know if you're familiar with it, where they build a car, their own car, and then they go around a highway. And I was just wondering where
The taxi, right?
They're in competition with someone else who has a fancy car, but they're going on a they're
neighbor.
like, it's
Hi
it's
neighbor.
nonstop. They have no brakes, and is that in the mountains or is that here in Culver City? I always wondered.
Well, I think
Do you know what I'm talking about?
you could be talking about freewheeling, because that's when they're going around in the mountains, and in
Yeah.
fact, Overland Avenue, the hill
And
that
they're
goes down to
crashing
Rose.
into people and they're just no-
Yeah, that's freewheeling. That's on my website too.
I just saw
Gotta
it
get
the
back
other
to that.
night. I watch it every night at 11 o'clock. But I was wondering, I thought maybe it was in the canyon somewhere. So is it here in Culver City?
The part where they're going boom, boom, hitting the workmen,
Yeah.
that's up in Westwood.
Oh.
And the big ending scene where they go down Overland, the hill,
Okay.
and then end up in a haystack.
Yeah.
Yes, that's at the corner of Rose and Overland.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so many of these films are now almost 100 years old. Can you believe that?
I always look at the buildings and you know,
Yeah.
the street things, with dogs running across the street.
Yeah, dogs in the background. Sometimes you see even kids in the background are just kind of looking. So freewheeling was done. No, freewheeling was done in Palms, Motor Avenue, right up at the corner of Irene, right before the highway and the train. That's pretty much where that was all done, the exteriors. Yes, sure.
There's endless amounts of TV shows and movies you could do this to, but our favorite that we watch every day at 5 o'clock is Perry Mason, original Perry Mason. And we spend time looking at the locations, and they're really great because they cover a lot of territory outside the area. You know.
This is the problem with I don't have it's on MeTV, right? Yeah. For some reason, Miami doesn't carry MeTV on my package, but I would love to get a hold of some of those.
They actually a lot of times use the locations and would say that's where they were, like the street.
Oh, and was it actually correct, or was it
That
made
is
up?
correct, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that saves a step.
Their home base for I'm trying to think was the Chaplin Studios. That was the address that they used for one of the.
Yeah, I have a friend who's an actor who was in a couple of those Perry Masons, but I don't think he was doing location work. I think it was all on the courtroom set.
But anyway, it's endless with MeTV if you get that. You know?
Yeah, no, I'll keep that in mind.
I just was wondering, when you trace back and look for these locations, are you going through the studio archives, through the call sheets and production reports? Because we would have to list every place that we shot at for every day.
Short answer, no. Richard Band, who's over here, has written books on Laurel and Hardy, Cal Roach Studios, and he has, in the course of writing those books and researching, had access to those. There's another gentleman named Randy Skretvet who's written Laurel and Hardy books, and he has access to those. So on occasion, to the extent that they survive, I can reach out to them. But it's not a common thing that I do, no.
Oh, I was just going to let you know that, a lot of the studios have archives, they have records, as well as probably the budgets, but also the Margaret Herrick Library might be a good source for you as well.
Yeah. Really, the issue is I live in Miami, so my time out here is rather limited, and I try to spend every minute that I can actually going to the locations and taking the photos to then line up, take back to Miami, and line them up. I'd love to live out here, but I'm sorry, I can't afford you. We paid $2.39 to $2.79 for gas. Yeah. Is that it? I think that's it. Okay. Visit the website, please. You'll see lots more.